Okay, there we are. Okay. Well, good afternoon again, students. Today, as I was telling you, we're going to begin a new unit. The two units that we were covering last semester, dealt with the different stages of the filmmaking process. The filmmaking process is made up of five different steps. And the longest ones are the two first, which are development, which can last a very long time, maybe years, and pre production, which is that stage where we are preparing to make the movie. And that is a process that is very long. Today, we're going to move on to the part of filmmaking that most people associate with movies, with making a film. This is the part that people think is the only thing that you have to do. But now you know better. You know that there's a lot of preparation that takes place before you actually get your camera rolling. That stage is principal photography. So, the current unit and the title of this lesson is What is Principal Photography? And you know that after all that preparation that you're engaging before you shoot this movie and getting that shooting schedule ready and getting the people that you need, now you can get to that stage that we call principal photography. This stage is going to be the most intense part of the process. And if everybody did their work correctly, and with their work correctly, I mean what they were supposed to do during development and what they were supposed to do during pre-production, if that was done correctly, this very intense part will be also very short. It's very intense. It's crazy intense. And that's why it should not be longer than it needs to be. So, principal photography, the stage, is this part of filmmaking in which the movie is actually being filmed. Now the cameras are rolling and the actors are in front of the camera. This part of filmmaking is also the most expensive phase of film production because now we're paying money. All that money that was given to us when the movie was greenlit, now we're spending it. How? Well, we have to pay to the people that are working, right? Now we're paying them. We're paying the actors, we're paying the crew for their work. We're actually buying things. We're buying the materials that we need to dress sets, construct sets, even to buy food. Because when you're shooting, I don't know if you knew this, but when you're shooting a movie, you have to feed the people. You knew that, right? How many of you knew that you had people eat when they're making movies? And the food is not donated. You have to buy. So they have a great chef with a great staff. And when the movie is being shot, people go and have great meals. But the studio's paying for that. So that's part of the expense. So all this stuff is going on. All this money is being spent. And a lot of work, hard work is being done right now. And the clock keeps on ticking. This stage of filmmaking generally marks the point of no return. And what I mean with the point of no return is that that sometimes people make investments because remember that filmmaking is not only an art, but it's also a business. And the studio's putting money. And any business, whether it's a movie or whether it's a restaurant, whatever it is, you don't donate money. You invest money. You put some money, expecting what? To get what? The same amount of money, less money, or more money? More money. So, I mean, would you get in a business? Let's say that somebody came to you and told you, I need you to invest $1 million, but you're only going to get half a million back. Would you invest in a business like that? Why? Why not? You're losing money. So when these studios invest all those millions of dollars, it's not a charity. They expect to see that money back and a lot more. So until the film the shooting begins, there is still a chance that the studio might decide that, you know what, we spent a little bit of money, but we think that it's not going to be successful, so we're going to cut this now. We're not going to make the movie. When you start shooting the movie, that marks the point of no return. Once you start shooting the movie, you jumped in. Very rarely will you see a studio saying, put the brakes, we're not doing this. It's almost unheard of that you're shooting a movie and the studio says, no, no. Once you start shooting, you have to keep on shooting and finish the movie to see if at least you can get some of that money back. So this process is a very risky. This part of the process is a very risky part for the studio because, as I said, it marks the point of no return. Uh, while it is common for a film to lose its greenlight status during pre-production, when you're shooting the movie, it's almost unheard of. When you hear about this happening, it is extremely rare because it's a nightmare for anyone. Now, let's talk about some production standards. Let's have an overview. When you're shooting a movie, at least in Hollywood, what does the workflow look like? What do they expect to do on a daily basis or weekly basis? Well, number one, the average shooting time is 6 12-hour workdays per week. What does that mean? That when they make movies in Hollywood, on average, they're shooting 6 days a week and they take a day off, probably a Sunday. But they work the days that they are shooting them, they're working for 12 hours. But this is an average. That doesn't mean that that's the way that always happens. I've heard of movies that they start shooting and they shoot every day until they finish. They don't stop shooting. Very rarely. Um, it happens. It happens. And I've heard of days that are not 12 hours long, but 18 or 20 hours long. Can you imagine that? Is that intense? I mean, think of your parents' work, right? How many days a week do they work? Usually. Five, usually, right? They have weekends off. How many hours a day? 8 is the average, the typical work day. Your mom goes to the office. She's usually there 7.5 to 8 hours during the day, right? Some people for work overtime, they work a little bit more. Um, I don't know, maybe 10 hours. But can you imagine working 18 hours, 7 days a week? That's grueling. That's a meat grinder. That's why they pay these salaries to these people. That's one of the reasons why. Not only because they're very talented and good at what they do, but because once the cameras are rolling, it's hard. Making a movie is hard. So what's the goal? I mean, they're working all this time, and what's the goal? The goal is, on average, to have 3.5 minutes of film per day. So look at this. The average shooting time is 12 hours to get how much film? 3.5 minutes. You work 12 hours to get 3.5 minutes of film. Not 12. It's not that you're working 12 hours a day to get 12 hours of film. You're working 12 hours a day to get, expecting to get at least 3.5 minutes of film per day. So what does that tell you? But why that difference in time? Why work so much and get so little? Well, you don't know, but let me tell you, you will know because one day you're going to be shooting something. How much time do you have to spend to prepare a shot? The amount of time that you have to invest setting up the dolly, setting the camera, getting the angles, setting up the lights, getting the actors ready. I can tell you from personal experience that we have easily spent 1 hour, 1.5 hour preparing to shoot a shot that might last 10, 15, or 20 seconds. Seconds. And not only that, but part of the time that you spend in those 12 hours that you see there is that we have to shoot the scene again and shoot it again and again, because it has to be what? It has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. So and who says what if it's perfect or not? Who decides that? The director. The director. Remember that more than any other stage of filmmaking, the boss of this stage is the director. Because the director's vision is the one that's going to be guiding every single thing that happens during this phase. So the director in a perfect world is the one who is supposed to be the one that says, this is perfect or this is not. It's not even up to the actors. The actor might think that, no, this is the best performance of my life. And the director might say, shoot it again. I didn't like it. And again until they get it the way the director wants it. So it can be very intense, guys. And so people get angry, people get mad, you have fights. No, uh, the creative process is like that. That's how it works. Um, Another standard is that all this time that you see here, this stage includes developing the shooting script. That means that you're still tweaking the script. You're still like fine tuning to make it more perfect. You're using the storyboards and maybe even tweaking that too, because nothing is written on stone. And if you can do something better and you figure that out during the shooting, dude, do that because you want to make the best movie possible. Um, you're viewing dailies and all that. So those are the standards. Now, who are the key people during this process? Who are the most important people? We have spoken about many different positions to make a film, but the key people during this period include number one, of course, the director. I mean, enough said, right? We don't have to explain why. The cast, the cast. We're finally shooting the cast. The cast includes the actors and the extras, and now they're in front of the camera. Now they're doing their thing. They are doing their performances, right? We also have the camera crew. Who is included in the camera crew? The director of photography, who we also call the cinematographer or the DP for short. Also, we include in that group the camera operators, or the people that are actually working with the camera under the instructions of the DP. We have the grips, or the grips we told you are the people that set up the camera support systems, or the dollies and all those, and the crane and all those things. The gaffers are the ones in charge of setting up the lighting, the different lights, they position the light where it goes, and the best boy who is an electrician, because you cannot have lighting without electricity, right? So you need an electrician. You also have a sound crew because you have to record sound. That includes the boom operator. We spoke about the boom operator, the guy that had the long pole of the microphone recording uh, the dialogue of the movie and the sounds and all that. A third man is also known as the cable puller because sometimes the boom microphone, the shotgun microphone, is connected to a cable, and we don't want people tripping all over. So, and we sometimes we have a lot of cables, and this guy makes sure that nobody's tripping over anything, falling and having an accident. And we have the mixers. There's the guy that is in charge of the quality of the sound. They do sound mixing. And of course, you have the special effects crew in case your shot includes a special effect, not an optical effect. Remember that optical effects are the ones, or VFX, visual effects, are the ones that are done in a computer. Special effects are the ones that are done live. Any questions so far, guys? Okay, so these are the key people. Noted that I did not say these are the only people. There are other people working during this stage, but the people that are critical, the people that you need more than anybody else, are these guys, are these people. But you still have other people doing their thing. Bunch of other people. Let's talk about the call sheet for a moment. The call sheet is a chart or document that looks very much like your. How many of you check out your weekly schedule or your weekly planner? Is your weekly planner important? Why? What information do you find there? In other words, where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be, and what are you going to be doing? The call sheet is a lot like your weekly planner. It's a little bit more elaborate, a little bit more complicated, much more detailed. But this is a very important document in a big movie production. I don't think that in a small production, like for example, if you guys make a movie, you're not going to need a call sheet. Or maybe it would be nice to do one. It would be super simple if you did one. Maybe it would be a good idea. But it's not going to be nowhere as complicated as it will be if you're making a Hollywood movie, because you have hundreds of people, and you have to coordinate, and that's the single hardest thing when you're making a movie. So this document is very important because it tells you when you're if you're a crew or a cast member, where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be, and what are you supposed to be doing, or if you're not needed. It also includes contact information. What's the single most important piece of contact information? Who can tell me? If you need to contact someone, what's the first thing that you ask from them? The phone number? The phone, yeah, but in this case, the phone number, right? The phone number. So you're going to see that that's another important element in a call sheet, that contact information. Here's a picture. It's kind of blurry, but it has a lot of detailed information. If you look at the top of it, the top of the picture, you might be able to notice what movie it belongs to. Let's see if somebody can figure it out. Which one? It's right there. I'm reading it right now. Exactly. That's a copy of one of the call sheets of Harry Potter and the Half Blood Prince. And every movie that you ever see in the theater has a call sheet like that. And call sheets have something very important that are called call time. And the call time, if you're working in a movie, refers to where you are supposed to be and at what time you're supposed to be there. And it varies from person to person because everybody is doing something different. You have the makeup people, you have the people that make the costumes, you have the people that are dressing the sets, you have the camera crew, you have the electricians, you have you have the actors. Everybody has a different call time. So all that information appears there. Now, would following the call sheet be important? Can somebody tell me why? Are you working alone? Uh, does your work impact the work of other people? Yes. When we talk about collaborating, remember that it sucks when your partner or your peer that is supposed to be doing a certain part of the work doesn't do it, because then it reflects on who? On everybody else in the team. It affects everybody else. So you could have a team of 200 people working, and one person, I'm sorry, one person can make everything screech to a halt. And how would you feel if something like that was happening? I would feel very upset, that I'm busting my butt working, and because of someone that was not responsible, my work got affected. It's going to reflect on me. So that's not following the call sheet is something that is frowned upon. Here we have an example. There are many examples because many actors, and let's talk about actors in particular. Some actors are divas. Have you heard the word diva before? What's a diva? A drama queen. Who else can tell me what do you understand by diva? Nobody. So you've never heard, guys? It's a word that's a very common term. Usually refers. It began being used to women that were very entitled, like a Karen, like a Karen. But in this case, that they think they're very important. They want to be treated like a princess, like a queen, and they don't care about other people. But nowadays, that term can be used with men also. Some men are divas. They're very entitled. And let me tell you, when you don't follow uh, professionalism, when you're not professional and you don't follow the call sheet, is very important. That's considered a major problem. Uh, who recognizes these two actors that are here? They're very famous. That this is Sylvester Stallone. I mean, he's super famous. People know him more like Rocky, the greatest boxing movie of all time, right? And he's done many movies. And this guy is also very famous. This guy is Bruce Willis from the Die Hard movies and a bunch of other movies, right? But recently, Sylvester Stallone was making a series of movies called The Expendables about a bunch of old guys that are like ex-soldiers. Have you seen them? Anybody? I think they have him on Netflix or Hulu or one of those places. Um, and he hired Sylvester Stallone hired. He's not only an actor, but he's also a producer and a director. And he hired Bruce Willis in two of his movies. In the third movie, he fired him because he was being a diva. He was not. Can you imagine that your call sheet said that you're supposed to be at the set at a certain hour and you arrive 5 hours later, or you don't arrive at all? Can you imagine that? Is that going to mess up your work? Careers have been destroyed by that kind of behavior. Like, no, people have to wait for me because I'm a big star. That's the wrong mindset. And I know, as I told you, careers that have been destroyed that way. Has anybody heard of a very famous actress from a few years ago, a young girl called Lindsay Lohan? Mean Girls, Freaky Friday. Well, she was up. She was probably the most famous young star 10 or 15 years ago of her generation. She destroyed her career. She began partying. When you party into the late hours of the morning when you're shooting a movie, it's crazy. You don't do that because you're working hard. You're supposed to rest, and doing drugs and stuff like that, not arriving to the set on time, or not arriving at all because she was hungover, and that destroyed her career. Now nobody would touch her. Nobody wants to work with a person like that. So she doesn't have a career anymore. So it's important, guys, to be professional when you're in the film industry. There are some daily activities that go on when you're shooting a movie. And here's a list of what goes on. I'm not going to read that now, but you can read it in the present when you exit the presentation. What happens on a daily basis? But basically, the gist of it is you have people waking up very early in the morning, 3 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning to go to the set because they have to start like building or dressing sets. If you're an actor. And there's a lot of costuming or makeup going on, getting there and getting ready. So when uh, the director arrives at 6 or 7 in the morning. Everything is ready to shoot. I've heard of actors that sometimes they have to wear a lot of makeup, and you have to sit there for 8 or 9 hours. Can you imagine that? Who? Yeah, you know who was Mystique from the X-Men? The blue woman with the red hair. Uh, Her makeup would take like 8 hours to apply. So what she would do was to rest. She would like fall asleep there, put my makeup there while I'm sleeping and resting. Because after those 8 hours, now I have to go to work. So you see how grueling this can be. You're sitting there every day having people paint you all your body and all that, and look here, look at that application. That's time consuming. And then after that, now you have to go to work. So it's not easy. This is hard work. Here you have the procedures that the director follows. Remember that when you're shooting a movie, the boss of the movie is who? The director. So when you guys shoot movies and you'll be shooting movies, um, the only person that should be saying things like roll camera, action, cut, it's the things like that is a director. You cannot have two or three directors in the movie. You have one. So it's important that you keep that in mind that if you're not the director, you have no business saying things like or giving opinions to everyone. You can access the director. That's when you choose a director, you have to respect the vision of the director. Now you can sit with the director and share ideas privately, but you should never undermine the authority of the director. That never ends well. So the movie is being shot, and at the end of the days, they watch something called when they're done for the day. The director says it's a wrap. That means that they're done for the day. That what they were going to shoot that day is over. It's been completely shot. The director should never say it's a wrap until the director is very, very sure that they have all the footage they need. Because once someone says it's a wrap, they start destroying the sets, and you don't want that happening. Okay. Um, at the end of the day, they sit down and watch the dailies. You see the director and those actors looking at that screen, they're looking at what they shot that day, and that's a lot of fun. When you see how you see yourself, you look in a screen. That can be a lot of fun because it looks like so different from what you see with your eyes. What you see in a screen is what the camera sees looks very different from what your eyes see. So if you shot good footage, it's a lot of fun. If you did not, then it's not fun at all. It sucks. And finally, guys, something that you have to be mindful of is continuity. There are two types of continuity: acting, prop, and costume continuity. We have to be very careful when we are shooting to make sure that continuity is being followed. You can read all about it here.